everyone, and welcome back to Sew Blessed by Jess. If you're new here, welcome, and I'm so excited that you're here to join us on our journey. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching this video. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start step by step on how to create this wonderful throw. And I'm starting something new on the channel. So once or twice a month I will pick a Thursday out and we'll do Throwback Thursday, where I will be creating a throw from a free pattern that I have found on the interwebs. So I plan on taking all the fat quarters that I'm getting from the Fat Quarter Shop Moda box that I get monthly and creating a throw. Sometimes we're going to have to add background fabric, sometimes we're not, like this one. So I look forward to seeing you. Enjoy the video, comment, and I will try to help out. I will leave a description of what we're doing and the free pattern below, and a link over to the person, which is Moonskin, her YouTube page, so that you can also follow her. She has some amazing patterns. Some are free, some aren't. She uses art gallery fabric, and it's just, she's amazing with what she does. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the video. All right, so we are at the cutting table, and again, I am using Moda Fat Quarter Club July of 2024, and it comes with these 12 fabulous fat quarters. And linked below, I have Moonkin design for checkered bricks that we're going to complete on our Throwback Thursday throw quilt. She, which I find fabulous, she has this diagram right here, so you can see if it's a beginner pattern, an intermediate, or advanced. This quilt pattern is for the beginning quilters. So for you immediate and advanced quilter, it can be like a palette cleanser for you, just some mindless sewing while you're watching your favorite YouTube or your Netflix, whatever you may be watching. And if you're learning to quilt for the first time, this is going to give you just the confidence of mastering that 1/4 inch seam, because look, we are going to be sewing 1/4 inch seams, and then we are going to be taking our blocks and nesting them together so that we can create really nice crisp corners. Okay, so for our throw size quilt, we are going to need, now I'm going to bring it up closer, we are going to need 12 fat quarters, and this 12 fat quarters is exactly what we got from our July 2024 Moda Fat Quarter bundle from Fat Quarter Shop. It's going to end up making a throw that's 54 by 68. We're going to need a 1/2 yard binding, so I'm just going to get into the closet and try to find something from back there. A backing that's 3 3/4 yards, and some batting that is 62 by 78, because you are 76. You want your batting and your backing to be larger than your throw. And you'll see why when we get to that point. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to take our fat quarter and we are going to divide it up into 5 by 9 rectangles. Let me get this a little bit. All right, so we are going to make 5 by 9 rectangles out of each fat quarter. Now, they have their fat quarters facing in the other direction, but I'm going to make it lengthwise. Now I'm going to take, I am not that confident quilter that can cut 6, 7 layers of fabric at a time. I'm comfortable with 4, so that's what we're going to go with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my fat quarters that I have right here, and I'm going to line up the selvages, because I know my selvages are straight. I'm going to smooth out as I go. put another one, line up the selvages at the bottom. Now when I ironed these all out, I did not use any starch or anything like that. Sometimes I use starch, sometimes I don't. Okay. Okay. So now we have all of our seams, all of our selvages lined up. You're gonna need a trusty, fabulous rotary cutter. Hopefully it has a really nice sharp blade to it. And then I have a 6.5 by 24 inch ruler. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna line up one of these lines on the edge of my selvage. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this side and I'm gonna scooch it over and catch all of my fabrics in it. So before I make my first cut, I'm going to lift up these fabrics and go, okay, do I have all 4 of them? And I do. So I'm going to open up my rotary cutter by pressing down. I'm going to place my hands to the left side of my ruler because I'm right-handed. All right, just make sure that's all lined up. Still looks good. Okay. I'm just gonna slide. Okay. I need a new mat. There we go. I'm gonna close my blade and then I'm just going to take all that fabric, throw it away. Okay. I'm gonna take my ruler, push it to the side. Now, since I'm right-handed, I'm gonna go ahead and flip this around. This may seem scary, but your fabric shouldn't move. As long as you're just being really gentle with it. All these edges, just, yep, they're still all lined up. They're looking good. Okay. So now we're gonna look at our pattern again. Okay. And so if you look at the pattern, it has it where you have 5 inches from this way going across and 9 inches this way. So we are going to grab, let me grab my 10.5 inch ruler. Okay. I'm grabbing my 10.5 inch ruler because I need to make a 9 inch cut. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm lining it up, and then I'm lining up this ruler right on top of it so that it makes that 9.5 inch cut for me. Okay, just making sure. So 9 inches. Taking your time. Okay. Let's see, I'm gonna pull this fabric away. Did I catch it all? No, like I said, I need a new mat. There we go. And that one piece of thread right there. Okay. So we have that. Now we're going to measure up the 9 inches again on this fabric. And instead of using my long ruler, I'm going to show you another way that I would do it. Was I would measure, then I would line up the 9 inch cut, move my ruler up. All right. move my ruler up. This is gonna be really close. And it caught all 4 of them. Amazing. I was kind of getting nervous that it wasn't gonna make it. Okay. I'm gonna take this one and just put it to the side at the moment. Now I'm gonna take one strip, line it up with one of my lines on my cutting mat. I'm gonna grab my 10.5-inch square ruler. I'm going to line up that just the top line, because I'm gonna go ahead and cut this selvage off first. So I'm gonna get as close to that selvage as I can. Lining up that top line. Okay, since I'm right-handed, I'm just gonna go around to the other side. Sorry about the shadow. I never want to cut across my body. Okay. So now we're going to cut 5-inch strips. So here's my 5-inch line. I am going to move it over to 10 because I don't want to be moving this fabric any more than I have to. So 10, and then slide my ruler over to the 5. Oops. Okay. There's my first 5x9. There's my second 5x9. We should be able to get 4 cuts out of this. Okay. I'm just going to line up a line across the bottom. Make sure that I'm on my 10-inch line. 1 cut. Slide it over to my 5. Lining up a line at the bottom and the 5-inch line. 2 and 3. And then this goes right into my scrap bin. So I do make 1.5 inch, which, yep, definitely can get a 1.5 inch square out of that. Or if you're making string quilts, because that's something people like. Okay. So I'm going to show it to you one more time, and then I'm going to cut the rest of this fabric up. All right, so I'm lining it up on a line. We're going to cut our selvage off. Throw that away, we won't need it. 10-inch. Move it over to the 5-inch. Cut a 10-inch. Remember, that's our waist. And 5-inch. And here we go. Blocks are pretty big. They should be 5x9. We're just gonna go ahead and make a big pile of them, and I'll see you in a few moments. All right, so as you can see, all 12 fabrics have been cut 5 to 9 inches. Now what we need to do on the pattern is we need to go ahead and pair them up. Every time that we create one of these blocks, we are going to create 3 of these blocks. There are 12 pieces in each one of these little piles, each color pile, And you need 4 of each color when we're creating a block. Okay. So I'm going to do it at random. We're just going to pair it up. It is what it is, and I'm going to love it. And it's going to look amazing when we get done. So I'm just going to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to leave these 6 alone, and I'm not even going to move them. All right, so 1, we'll do that one. Pair those together. Pair those together. Pair those together. Those together, and those together. So there we go. We have our 12 pairings. Just at random, boom, we got it. You know, I don't want to do a lot of thinking with it. It's going to look amazing no matter what we do and how we switch it around. All right, let's meet me at the machine. So now we're on the piecing part of it, which we are going to take 2 different fabric prints, make sure that we have 4 of each print, and we're going to lay them out in a checkerboard fashion. Then we're going to sew these blocks together. So I'm going to pick 4 of my blue gingham, put those aside, and then 4 of my yellow with a circle, put the rest aside. So we're going to make 2 of each block. My brain apparently thought I had 12 of each, but I have 12 fat quarters, not 12 of each fabric. We only have 8. It's all right. Okay, so let's make sure my bed's flat. I have my 1/4 inch foot that has a guide on it. I need to, because I was not sewing, so I need to go ahead and I'm at 0, 0. This is for my 1/4 inch guide. I need to move this to 4. And if I move that to a 4, it's going to go right down this hole and give me a wonderful 1/4 inch seam. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up these seams. I'm trying to do this as beginner friendly as possible. And I am going to pin. I won't have to remove the pin as I'm moving down, and I'll show you as we go through. Because as I'm sewing my 1/4 inch seam, my 1/4 inch is hitting, but it's not even going to hit the needle. Okay, so let's go ahead. Sew 1/4 inch seam down. Okay, take the first 2 stitches, making sure my needle stays down. I'm going to remove that first needle. I'm going to take it nice and slow so you can see. Now I don't want to sew over needles. Is it possible? Yes, if you have a thinner needle, but the probability of that sewing needle hitting this pin, breaking, shattering, not knowing where it could go, maybe in your face, is a possibility. And we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to grab my next fabric. And you could go ahead and pin these all together before we even start sewing, but I'm just going to do one at a time. We're going to scoot us out a little bit now. One side. Pin the other side. All right, let's go ahead and scoot down. Break my thread. part. Take those other 2 pins out that I had. Okay, and for this one, I am going to press towards the dark side. And the first, I'm just going to finger press this right now. But I'm going to press these to the blue, 2 of them to the blue. And sew them together. Still opposite sides, opposite colors, I mean. Cut my thread. Let's see here. I kind of want them all to go, they need to all go the same way. So let's just go ahead, press this to the, let's see. Sorry guys. Right, this middle one needs to change and it needs to get pressed towards the yellow. All right. So all of our seams are going to the left. So everything is going to the left on this one. So for the next one, we want to make sure we're pressing towards the right. So again, I'm just going to press towards the blue. Running my fingernail, pressing towards the blue. And because these are rectangles, there's no bias. You can't really stretch these fabrics out. I mean, look, I'm tugging, it's not distorting. Okay, let's go ahead and sew these together. All right, I'm pressing towards the right. Okay, amazing. All right, so our next step is we are going to line it up so that it's still creating that checkerboard pattern, okay? We're gonna flip it over, and when we flip it over, these seams should nest. So, and they are, the way that we press them, okay? And then I'm gonna take a pin. I'm gonna open my pin box back up. I can grab one here. We're gonna pin this seam. And I try to pin right on that seam. Take our next intersection, lock them together, grab another pin, and our last intersection. And pin those together. Okay. And now we're going to run a 1/4 inch seam down this long edge. And there you have it. One block. And this block measures 17.5 by 18.5. So it's rectangular. And you'll see that as you're going. So from here to here should be 18.5. And then from here to here should be 17.5. Okay, and we're just going to do this 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 more times. So I'll come back when I have all 11 of them sewn together, and we'll get to our design wall. All right, everyone, so now that you have pieced these together, so you should have 12 units of these, 6 different colorways, so 2 of each. We're gonna now take and put everything on the design wall and see what we come up with. I'm gonna be moving back and forth. I've placed all of my blocks right here on the side, so I'm just gonna be looking and kind of like put them up. So here we go. All right, so now I have the first row up. Kind of looks good to me. We'll see how it goes as we're bringing it down. Scoot you down just a little bit. You can see the bottom layer. But I think that's what we're gonna go with. Everything looks to be spaced out enough. The grays are all over. I look to make sure that the reds and the pinks and the yellows and the greens, so those colors are sporadically put around the quilt. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this row off, just this one row. And so I pulled it off from left to the right, so that first block on the left is my top. And I'll know that, so when I place it on my machine right here, then I'm going to go ahead and sew it together correctly. Okay, and then I'll go down to the next block, the next row, the next row, and the next row. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and sew them together. And when I'm putting these together, there's only one seam that I need to match, and it's this intersection right here. And guess what? Because the way I pressed, they nest. So that's amazing. And remember, you only have one seam that is going to need to be met. There we go. First row complete. Now I'm going to go ahead and do it to the other 3 rows. Okay, so let's go ahead and pin our rows together. We're going to start with the end and pin. And every time we come to an intersection, we need to make sure they're nested. So if you need to push over a seam just to make sure, go right ahead. Because if we pin, our intersections will come out. Now when I pin right where my seam is, so that I know it's not going to go anywhere. All right, let me finish pinning and then we'll start sewing the row together. All right, so everything's pinned all the way down. Let's go ahead and start sewing on the machine. All right, switch you over there a little bit. So I'm hoping you're really enjoying this. I love the idea of like throwback Thursday, and making throw size quilts or volunteer size quilts on a couple Thursdays during the month. Not every Thursday, but we can see what we can do. I'd love to make one quilt a week. Sports season's going to be coming up soon, and I'm going to be teaching. If you didn't know, I'm a 4th grade teacher. I teach math and science. Really enjoy my 10-year-olds. I've also taught middle school math and 2nd grade. 2nd grade was during the years of the pandemic. So I don't even really want to count those as much, but they count. Almost done. The end. All right, so 1st and 2nd row, pinned, sewn, pieced together. Now I'm going to go ahead, piece row 3 and 4 together, and then so the top to the bottom. So there we go, a finished pieced top. The intersections came out really good, lots of threads everywhere like normal. If you don't have threads everywhere all over your quilt, awesome for you. But always finding spare threads everywhere. Intersections came out really good. Yep, exciting. So our next step is I'm going to find a backing that will cover the back of this. I'm going to grab my tape measure And it said that this quilt was, does anybody remember from the beginning? 54 by 68. So I'm going to measure from the center, never measure from the ends because they can distort a little bit. All right, so I'm at 54 and almost 3/4. Let's follow this line. All right. 60's right there. $68.5. Yeah, so I'm like right there. So I'm at 54.5 by 68.5, which would make sense in a way if I did have it piece on the side. Absolutely. All right. So like I said again, I'm going to go ahead and find a backing and I'm going to spray baste it. That's how I like to do it. And then instead of using my long arm to sew it, I'm going to use my domestic machine so that we can see the pieces together. Now, I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to do some straight line quilting. That's what I like to do on my Janome. I find it fun to do it that way. I'm going to put my walking foot on and I'll show you that, and change my thread color. I'm going to do gray for the top and the bottom. It'll just melt into this top. And then we'll have another quilt done for our Project Linus quilt. How amazing will that be? Oh yeah, we got to bind it too. So go ahead, sandwich it together, quilt it on the machine, and put our binding on. All right, until our next video on Throwback Thursday, because we're making throw size quilts. I'll see you then. Bye.